I may have been excluded from the debate tonight, but I won't be silenced. For 2 years, I've been saying the Republican Party needs to be bigger, better, bolder, that we need a more diverse party, that we need people with tattoos and without, with earrings and without, that we need to be a party that welcomes everyone, the rich, poor, white, black, brown, everyone. But above all else, we need to allow diversity of opinion. The GOP needs to allow dissent, to allow a variety of voices to be heard. Tonight, I am banned from the debate even though I met the arbitrary and capricious polling standards. That's disappointing to those of us who want to see a bigger, better GOP, not a smaller one. My voice is unique in the party and should not be banished. Alone on the stage, I have argued that making the sand glow by carpet bombing the Middle East will, in the end, create more terrorists than it will kill. Alone on the stage, I have argued that our government should not be allowed to indiscriminately collect our private phone or credit card information. Alone on the stage, I have argued for ending the war on drugs, which has disproportionately incarcerated people of color. Alone on the stage, I have also argued that regime change and intervention in the Middle East has made us less safe, has made the Middle East more chaotic, and allowed the expansion of radical Islam. There has only been one voice on that stage to proclaim that you cannot be fiscally conservative if you are liberal with military spending, that our country is being bankrupted by an unholy alliance between those on the right who want unlimited military spending and those on the left who want unlimited domestic spending. Without my voice tonight, there will be no voice for those who truly believe in fiscal conservatism. Without my voice, the liberty wing of our party wonders if they need to look elsewhere, outside of the party, for representation. I refuse to be banned, and I refuse to be silenced. Instead, tonight I take the message directly to the people. Join us at 9 p.m. for a national town hall. Turn your TV off. Choose your own destiny. Don't be led by the nose to the future that includes only the banal and soporific. Choose liberty, unfiltered and direct from the source.
We're live. We're going to let it pick back up and pick back up. If you want to say hi to everybody there.
Hey guys, we're back. If you're on Periscope and want to get back on Periscope, we are back up live. We're doing our Twitter town hall. We're live from the Big Apple. Willing to take your questions, whatever you've got, throw them our way. Turn your TV off. If you're bored with that other debate, turn on your computer. Get some real answers to some real questions.
All right, we'll do the first question from Twitter over here. The last few presidents have abused the use of executive orders. How would you change that as president?
You know, I think one of our biggest problems is so much power has gravitated to the executive. Some of it's been grabbed up. You know, President Obama's been notorious for not getting his way through Congress, and so he's grabbed up and tried to create law through executive order. I think that's wrong, and in fact, not what our founding fathers intended. So many things were specifically delegated, you know, to Congress. Article 1, Section 8 gives specific powers to Congress, and that's basically all they're supposed to do. What's happened, though, over time is specific powers like initiating war. That is a congressional power. We've somehow allowed that to gravitate to where even now both Republicans and Democrats say, oh, he can do whatever he wants. In fact, Republicans recently said, we're not going to pass any authorization for any kind of war in the Middle East because we're afraid it might limit the next president. Well, precisely that's what you're supposed to do, is limit the president, limit their authority. We don't have a king. We don't have a president with unlimited powers. And so this is a big problem. If I were president, I'd be the first president in a generation who would actually say, you know what, we're going to send the power back to the states and back to the people.
Here's a question from Periscope. What is your message to supporters of Bernie Sanders?
You know, Bernie Sanders talks a lot about some of the abuses that big banks have had and abuses of this and that. He did vote with me on Audit the Fed. But our differences are much greater than our similarities. I believe very firmly that the system of capitalism created great wealth in our country and creates great wealth from top to bottom. It's why even those who live in poverty, which I don't discount, but even those who live in poverty in our country are much richer than most countries around the planet. So his belief in socialism, I think, is naive, because I think those who believe you can get something for free or something for nothing, they just aren't looking hard enough to see that somebody actually has to pay for it. Somebody will pay for your free college education. It's not really free. And even the people you're trying to help, those who are poor, if you simply print up and create new money to pay for the things that they want, you end up devaluing the dollar, their prices go up, and when they go to the grocery store, it's why sort of the problem of poverty never seems to go away with big government programs. The only thing that lifts people out of poverty are productivity increases and capitalism, but government never really helps.
Another question from Periscope. Why did Senator Cruz skip audit the Fed vote?
I don't know. I was disappointed that he wasn't there for that. I mean, he's paid by the taxpayer. It's a big issue. It's a big issue to Liberty voters to say, you know what, we've been trying for 5 years to get audit the Fed. This is simply an oversight bill. It's a transparency bill, and we could have used his help. We wish he would have taken the time to show up for the vote.
Next question is from Twitter. It's actually more of a comment that you can maybe expand on. This live stream has more substance than any Republican debate in the last decade. Care to comment?
Well, I couldn't agree more. And, while we are annoyed that they excluded us from the debate, we feel like there is every justification in the polls that we should have been in the debate. The great thing about the internet, a great thing about doing a Twitter town hall, is you can't be banned from the internet. The internet is a free place for people to connect and collect, and you can express your opinions and your ideas out there. Anybody can, and it, to me, is a great equalizing force, that no longer do the networks control the debate, no longer does cable news control the debate. The revolution's here, and it's not going to be televised.
Question from Periscope. What will be your first official act when you're elected president?
I would take day one to undo about 10,000 executive orders that have come from previous presidents that have added burdens to the economy, making it harder for us to keep and maintain American business and jobs.
Tom from Periscope wants to know, can I have a job if you become president?
It's illegal, Tom, all right? I can't do that. But if you work really hard for me, there will be a lot of places for liberty lovers in the free market, because we're going to make government so small you can barely see it, but that means there's going to be a plethora of jobs in the private economy.
How would you replace our current failed healthcare system?
I've practiced medicine for 20 years. Most of my adult life was learning how to do eye surgery and then practicing eye surgery and ophthalmology. And what I found as I practiced medicine is that there are some things that work and some things that don't work. The main complaint I got from patients was that their health insurance cost too much. And so there wasn't a good marketplace. It wasn't good competition. But the interesting thing is there were a couple things I did that insurance didn't cover. LASIK surgery, the surgery to get rid of glasses, insurance typically doesn't cover it. And contact lens, insurance doesn't cover either of these procedures or things that we dispense. And interestingly, the price went down every year for 15 years. So the marketplace does work when you get the patient to interact with the price and the doctor and the patient to know that they both care about the price. The old system, unfortunately, neither party cared about the price, and prices went up dramatically. The other thing about health care to remember is even before Obamacare, about half of health care was given and distributed by the government. So the bottom line is we have to realize is that what economic system distributes the most amount of goods to the most amount of people for the least amount of price? And that's capitalism. So we should apply capitalism also to healthcare, because what it would do is what it does to every other industry. It produces the most amount of goods at the cheapest amount of price.
Another question from Twitter. That one is kind of an open-ended one, but a good one. Is there any topic that's important to you that hasn't come up in previous debates?
I think one of the things that is important to me is just the general concept of how government is inversely proportional to liberty. And I'll often say that there are two arguments for why we should have small government. One argument is the liberty argument. And this is what Thomas Paine put forward when he said that government is a necessary evil. What he meant by that is you have to give up a certain amount of your liberty to have government. it's not an argument for no government, but what it is an argument for keeping government small because you have to give up some of your liberty to pay for government. So if we taxed you 100%, you basically would have given up all your liberty to use the fruits of your labor. If we tax you 50%, you're giving up half of your liberty. So really, we should all want to give up the minimal amount and keep government small. The other argument that I think is a great argument for small government is, or for limited government, is the efficiency argument. Milton Friedman put this forward when he said, nobody spends somebody else's money as wisely as their own. So this is a good argument for not giving money to government because it's not their money. They don't have the wisdom or that feeling you get in the gut about spending money that you know you had to work hard to earn. So I think these arguments combined really are strong arguments for why we should have limited government. But to have limited government, you have to realize that that means you also have to watch military expenditures as well, because you cannot be conservative if you're liberal with military spending. Maybe one or two more.
Here's a question from Periscope. Are you worried President Obama will do something extreme before he leaves office?
What hasn't he done that's been extreme, I guess, would be my first response to that. You know, the recent episode with, once again, him trying to do things without legislative action, it's not so much that that is extreme, although it is, but what's really extreme is the precedent of setting that the president can do things without congressional authority. What if the next president decided to do something like ban newspapers? People say, well, that's absurd. President Obama's not going to do that. I'm not saying President Obama will. What I'm saying is the precedent of him trying to create law without Congress actually passing the law, that precedent sets the precedent for the next president to take more power and the next president to take more power. That's what's been going on for 100 years. It's a very dangerous precedent and something we have to reverse, and one of the reasons I'm running for president.
The Twitter questions is kind of a follow-up, which is nice. It's a little interactive here, like on the debate stage. You said earlier you can't be banned from the internet just a few minutes ago. Clearly you haven't heard Donald Trump's plan to shut down parts of the internet, so comment on that.
You know, isn't it funny that your first response to things that Donald Trump is to laugh, and then your second response is to be sad that anybody would treat a candidate like that seriously? He so flippantly says things like, well, we'll just close down a little bit of that internet thing. And when you think about that, you think, my goodness, is he talking about closing down the right to express yourself? That's what the internet is. It's no different than closing a newspaper down. Would anybody say that we could close a newspaper down, abrogate the First Amendment, and that would somehow be acceptable in our society? So no, I'm alarmed that where we are with having a celebrity entertainer up there, but who actually posits and proposes things that are or should be an anathema to everything America stands for.
How will you build our military?
I think what we'll do to make ourselves stronger is we have to have a more focused understanding of what we should be doing to defend ourselves. We do have to have a strong military, but we have to put it in perspective. Right now we spend about $600 billion on the military. If you put that in perspective, it's about equal to the next 10 countries combined. So we spend as much in our military as Russia and China, plus 8 more countries combined. And so I think that it's something that if you want a strong military, first thing you have to do is know what your purpose is, and you have to know that what we need to be doing is not building nations around the world, not intervening in everyone's civil war, but having a national defense that's strong enough to repel and strong enough to deter all attacks.
We're going to do a couple more. We just got the news from Twitter that Rand Rally is now trending on Twitter as one of the highest followed hashtags on the entire system right now. So we're going to keep going for just a little
Well,
bit.
that's great. So
23,000 tweets.
hashtag Rand Rally is trending on Twitter.
It is.
And we think that maybe people ought to turn off their TV more.
I have a related question to that. It's trending on Twitter, and it was also Rand Paul, your Twitter handle, was number 2 in Twitter follower growth so far during this debate, and you're not even on stage. The comment here is, guess the boycott is working. Want to comment on that?
I'm thinking maybe we should just tell them in advance we won't show up for any more of their stupid debates, but probably shouldn't pre-announce that. But the thing is that I think that we live in a world where young people are not being counted in presidential polls. We live in a world where a lot of people are getting their news on the internet, from their phone, from their friends, but they're not watching traditional news shows. Most of the young people I know, high school, college age kids that are friends of our family, they're not turning on the television to get their news, and thank goodness. That means that we're taking power away from those who think they can manipulate the political process to keep people like me off the stage. And so if there's a lesson here, hopefully it's to the media elites that we're not going to take it lying down. We're going to take our message straight to the people.
Here's a question from Periscope. Who scares you the most on that stage and why?
Where do I get started? I think the worst thing is that I don't think there is another reasonable voice for foreign policy on the stage. What we need is somebody who believes, as Reagan did, in peace through strength, but someone who's not eager to carpet bomb the Middle East, make the sand glow, and who also understands that terrorists are very weak people. They want to create fear because they cannot defeat you in any military battle. That we do not have to fear terrorists. And if we let our fear get the better of ourselves, if we forget who we are as Americans, if we let the Bill of Rights slip away from us because of fear of terrorism, that's a great loss. And I don't think anybody else on the stage truly understands that. I don't think anybody else on the stage truly understands and believes that or acknowledges that we could bankrupt the country in the near future and destroy the currency, not just because it's Democrats' fault, not because it's just President Obama's fault, but because it's both parties' fault. And that's really the rub. And you wonder why I've been excluded. Maybe I've been excluded because, you know what, they're afraid that I'm going to lift the veil that lets you know that, you know what, sometimes there's no difference between the parties. Sometimes both parties stand for the same thing. And that's why when you get an unusual candidate like myself who is willing to criticize both parties and acknowledge that both parties are bankrupting this country, maybe that just scares them too much that they don't want to hear it.
I have a follow-up question to some about the debate. Is it too late to swap out John Kasich or Jeb Bush for Rand Paul?
You know, I think that really there's not much new being said on the stage, and what we need to do is people need to go look for their information elsewhere. We need to not be confined by certain news sources. We need to not be confined by looking in one place. And also, we need to send a message to the news media that, guess what? These polls that are going on are not going to define the election. We're not going to let the news media control what is covered based on the polls. You know, we have whole networks that have gone gaga over a celebrity TV star, and as a consequence, we're not having a real substantive debate. But the only way we can make a difference is that those of us who are causing this to trend on Twitter tonight, if you'll actually register to vote. If you're not in Iowa, you're not in New Hampshire, make phone calls for us. If you have $5, send us $5. If everybody online that's trending right now would and get involved, we could make a huge difference. If you'll go to randpaul.com, you can find out where I'm going to be in New Hampshire for the next couple of days. If you go to randpaul.com, you can find out where I'll be in Iowa. If you go to randpaul.com and you've got some money rubbing a hole in your pocket, you want to help us out, you can give to us at randpaul.com.
Justin Amash has a message for you. He says, "Thank you, Rand Paul, for standing up for all Americans. I'm proud to stand with Rand in defense of liberty and the Constitution. Hashtag Rand Rally."
Well, thank you, Justin Amash. He's one of our heroes. He's from Western Michigan and one of the most liberty-loving of those in Congress. He's been a great help to both me and my father, and we're proud of Justin Amash. And if you ever want to know where he stands, he's got every vote up online telling you exactly what he believes.
I have a question from Rand students. Rand Paul, what will you do to limit NSA spying?
That's a great question. I think we ought to obey the Constitution. We can defend ourselves. We can look for information from those we have suspicion, probable cause, an individual's name. So what I've been saying is, look, we can get more records from people for whom we suspect of being terrorists, but we should be getting records of all Americans. And so I think the NSA ought to be doing surveillance of foreigners and not Americans. And when there's anything that involves us domestically, they ought to involve the Fourth Amendment. The NSA is out of control. And when the National Intelligence Director comes before the Senate and lies to the Senate, maybe we need to put him in jail and teach him a lesson and say, you know what? It's perjury to come before Congress and lie to Congress. This is unacceptable, and no one should have that much power over the individual citizenry if they're going to come to Congress and lie to us. I think my voice is about to run out. We're getting very close, and
I think what we'll do now is we're about to end here, but before we do that, since Rand is doing this rather than doing the debate, how about a closing statement from Rand Paul, what everybody should know and take away from tonight?
there'll be no buzzers, no lights, no limits.
You can talk as long as you'd like right now.
You know, I can talk for a long time. No, my voice is wearing out, so I won't keep you too long tonight. But I want to thank everybody who's been helping across the country. I want to thank all the liberty-loving folks who have come into the Republican Party, who came in either first with my dad's campaign or have come in with our campaign, and to let you know you are making a difference. They're worried about you in Washington. They fear you, but they will only truly fear you and they will only truly listen to you when you show up to vote. And so until we start making inroads in votes, they'll manipulate polls to manipulate us out of debates, to manipulate us out of the news, but we will not truly have power till we have the votes, until we can win elections. I won my election for the U.S. Senate against all odds. The establishment picked the other guy. All of the resources of Washington, all of the PAC money, all of the special interests went to the establishment guy, and we beat him. It was an uphill climb. It was a great upset. We can do it again. I'm the first to admit to you it's a long shot. They've beaten us down with the news coverage. They've excluded us from the debates. But they can't keep us off the internet, and they can't keep me from spreading the ideas of liberty. And what my hope is, as you move forward out of this tonight, you go on randpaul.com and you say to the establishment, you know what, we're turning off our TV, we're tuning into the internet, and we're going to follow the campaign, support the campaign, and spread the word to all our friends. Thanks, everybody. Good night.